Hello there and welcome to the Tunes From Doolin Podcast, an Irish traditional music interview series presented by myself, Charles Monod, and featuring guests from County Clare and beyond who come and visit us here in Doolin. On each episode of the show, we are guided by tunes picked and played by our guests, and we talk about various topics related to traditional music, such as sources of inspiration, repertoire, style, memories, and much more. If you'd like to support this podcast and the Tunes From Doolin project in general, you can head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/tunesfromdoolin, where you can sign up and choose a support level that you can sustain. It doesn't have to be much, even a cup of coffee per month really goes a long way. The link is in the show notes. Thank you so much for your support. Our guest on this episode is flute player Kirsten Allstaff, originally from Scotland but living locally in North Clare for many years, and one of the founders and co-directors of the Online Academy of Irish Music. Hope you enjoyed the tunes and our chat with Kirsten, and make sure to stick around till the end if you'd like to know more about Kirsten and how to keep up with her music. Enjoy! thank you so much for those tunes, Kirsten, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Delighted to have you on board. Tell us, what did you just play?
So the first tune is called Kathleen Hehir's, and the second one is called Sweet Marie.
They're great tunes. They're really North Clare. I would associate, especially the second one, with Kilfenora.
For sure, yeah.
Where did you learn them?
I don't really know where I learned them. I've probably known them for ages. But the first one, I think it was just, I learned it was maybe a 2-part tune, but the Didanin made it into a 4-part and named it after a great fan of theirs, Kathleen Hehir. And perhaps it was played at the first time at one of the Lisbon Varna folk festivals.
Okay.
And the second tune, I associate with the Kilfenora Ceilidh Band, and I think it was Michaeline Conlon used to play it a lot.
Yeah.
Who was also from Lisbon Varna. So.
Yeah, cool. It's funny. So that first tune is actually a mix of tunes, or they build it up.
I think so. Yeah.
Was that from the early Danans, or?
I don't know.
Okay. But I definitely heard it in sessions as well around here, and only as a 4-part. So I don't think I ever heard a 2-part. And they're jigs, but they're a different feel to them, haven't they?
Yeah, they're Sweet Marie. It's almost like there's something March-like about it. Sort of like a. Yeah.
Do you think the first one would be almost kind of a slide?
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny.
I like them because they have a lot of space in them. They're great for flute, playing on the flute. Just that extra bit of space. And
would actually the second tune be a piping tune? I think I've read and heard recordings where people mention Leo Rosam.
Okay.
But not sure. There's definitely that march feel to it.
Yeah, for sure.
But so for the listeners who don't know you very well, you are Kirsten Allstaff. Mm-hmm. You live here in Doolin, but you're originally from Scotland.
That's right, yeah.
And founder and director of the Online Academy of Irish Music.
Yes.
And you've been around a long time, and we know each other for probably over 10 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
What brought you here?
To Doolin or to North Clare? Or?
Well, I suppose first Ireland and then whatever.
Really, the Irish music. I was a student at Glasgow University, and I got the bug for, I played a lot of Scottish music. I got the bug for traditional Irish music, really. I was going into the Irish pubs in Glasgow, and I don't know how I passed my exams at university because I was just out playing the whole time. And I got to do an Erasmus exchange to Dublin for 3 months, and I really liked it, so I had to go back, sit my exams, and then I moved over to Dublin, and I was in Dublin for 3 years.
Yeah. And was that a case of you actually preferred to play Irish music over Scottish music?
Well, not so much. I mean, I played loads of Scottish music, but Irish music is so much, it suits the flute so much better.
Yeah.
Scottish music is very jumpy. It goes up and down the octaves. It's great on the pipes and the fiddle, but the sort of more rolling aspect of Irish music, smaller intervals, is nice on the flute.
Cool. And were you always playing the flute, or how old were you when you started?
My first instrument was fiddle, actually, but I started the flute when I was 12. Mm-hmm. And actually my family moved to Canada. We emigrated when I was 12.
Okay. And
there wasn't any violin or fiddle in the school I went to, and I had to learn a woodwind. And as we were all taught in the class, 30 of us all together, tubas, trombones, flutes, and so I had 6 years of that.
Okay.
And over there is when I actually first started playing Irish music and Scottish music. Well, my dad was an accordion player and guitar player, and when we went to Canada, there was a lot of Irish people living around us, so we all kind of grouped together and played our music.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually never knew you had that this time in Canada, and it all makes sense because I know you for playing loads of different genres of music. Irish music is the main part of what you play, but you've always had loads of different tunes, and even on your albums, like it's very obvious that you like having stuff from different different traditions. Is it something that was always there, or?
I think that came from like my time at maybe University of Limerick, which was later, and I was exposed to so many different musics.
Okay.
And also playing with Los Paddies, you know, whether they do a lot of South American, Spanish kind of music and Irish music.
So for people who don't know, actually, it's a great band, Los Paddies de las Pampas. You joined the band
about maybe 8 years ago. We're just called Los Paddies now.
Okay.
Yeah, we do a mixture of South American rhythms and Irish reels, and most of our own stuff with a few traditional tunes thrown in.
It's a great band to see live. There's always good crack when you end up at one of those Last Paddies concerts.
Yeah. Dancing. There's a couple of dancers who dance with us, and they're definitely worth checking out.
And how, obviously you've all these different influences in your music, and you like playing different stuff. How do you then find yourself going down just to the sessions around the corner? What's your relation to the real tradition? The purists will say the pure drop.
I absolutely love it. That is my roots, and that is my main love. Anything else that comes like Spanish waltzes or they're all second to Irish traditional music and Scottish traditional music. They're the same. They're the jigs and the reels. And I've going down to a session and getting stuck in a good session. It brings you off to another world. You know, you're just playing a set of 4 or 5 reels, and it's almost hypnotic. It's almost it's trance-like. I miss it so much. I just think it's amazing.
Yeah, that's been the hardest part of lockdown for me anyway. I'm sure you can relate to that.
Not knowing what tune's coming next. I mean, it's different. I mean, you can get the flute out in the kitchen and you just don't feel inspired. But when you don't know what tune's coming next, and, you know, you've got a big repertoire. There's hundreds, if not thousands of tunes, and you don't know what the person next to you is going to play. Maybe it's going to be a tune you haven't heard or played for 3 or 4 years, and that's really exciting. You're like, yes. Yeah,
that's the kind of bouncing off each other and feeding of each other's music is really to me it's the heart of Irish traditional music, really.
Yes.
Will we go into another set of tunes maybe, or have you got something in mind?
Yeah, I think I'm going to play. It's the one reel.
All right.
And it's called Lord Gardens, and
it's a long one.
It is, and it's one actually I just been playing a good bit recently, just the past few weeks, just to get playing again. And there's loads of rolls, and it was a tune actually I was never quite sure of the parts, so hopefully I get them all in the right order.
It'll be fine. We won't tell anyone in case.
And also, Kirsten. I mean, it's originally a Scottish reel, so it's so many of the tunes. There's relationships between Ireland and Scotland with a lot of the reels, especially. And Lord Gardens is one of these.
Okay, great.
So.
such a great tune. Like, you've so much energy put into it, and there's something I've always liked about your playing. Well, loads of different things, but it's that the way you've an attack that always you know what I mean with an attack, like, you know, when you get into the note, it's spot on, and that to me reminds me of Scottish music and Scottish pipes. So I actually don't know anything about Scottish music, so maybe I'm totally wrong and I'm just thinking that because you're originally from Scotland. But is there
I'd say the attack in Scottish music would happen much more on the beats, where I'd attack off the beat more for but I do ornamentation, and I actually embellish my finger ornamentation often with flutter tonguing. And it's something unusual, something that people always ask me about, and that actually comes from listening to loads of Highland pipe music. And on the Highland pipes they do, like, you know, 15, 17 note crans. I mean, their fingers just, I don't know how they do it. And I'd be trying to do really good crans with my fingers, and I realised if I just did a little flutter tongue, it sort of made it.
Yeah, but your playing is very rich in ornaments, and, like, I mean, that's the great thing about Irish music. You've so many different styles. We live in Doolin, and loads of different flute players who are all great. Everybody has their own style, and having the luxury of being able to play with so many different types of flute player in this instance is amazing. How do you relate to other flute players in the area? Is it more like you just learn tunes from them? How about style, technique? Because you're very confident in your own style.
Yeah, I think I did a lot of my active learning, like when I was younger, probably in Limerick. However, I love playing in with Christy Barry, and I learned a tune from him just in the past year. I think it's called the Temple Mount Reel, and I went on to record that tune on my album 4/4. And I love listening to Christy. I dropped in on him a couple of times over the past year, and just listening to him play. He's been playing the flute every day, and just beautiful tunes, and he's just so melodic, and one of my favorite flute players. Christy is great. And you play much tin whistle? Yes. The flute's my baby. Like I find I play tin whistle. I have a tin whistle sitting there in the living room, and whenever my son's playing concertina and we're just sort of lounging about, you can't lounge around and play the flute. You need to be sitting up straight and all your energy about you. But I'd often play the whistle every day on the couch when Matthew's playing his tunes on the concertina.
Yeah, you're a flute player, and there's a whistle left there. Because Christy, to me, Christy's a flute player, obviously, but he's also a whistle player.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? As in,
yes.
Not that he takes it more seriously, but because it's a different technique. He doesn't play the whistle the same way he plays the flute.
I find the whistle sometimes, like, it is much easier and much more satisfying to play. I think maybe in the years to come I'll be playing a lot more whistle.
There's that too, yeah.
And it's instant gratification as well, especially in the sessions. If you whip out the whistle and it just cuts above everything, and people love it.
They do, yeah. But they love the flute too. Like, don't worry about it. You're actually playing an E-flat flute today?
I am, yeah. Just I usually play the D flute, but it's nice if you're playing on your own to play the E flat.
It gives that extra kind of extra boost of energy, doesn't it? Like, it's a
small bit easier. It's just being a small bit shorter and easier to fill.
There are still albums being recorded in E flat, but for me, I always think about that recording of Matt Molloy, Tommy Peoples, and Paul Brady, isn't it?
Yeah.
In E flat, that E flat sound to me is them.
Yeah, the other one, Noel Hill and Tony Lennon.
Yeah.
Most of that's in E flat too.
Yeah. Since we're talking, that just came up. Who would be your main influences in Irish music, or musicians that you look up to?
I must say, well, one of the biggest influences would have been my flute tutor when I went to UL. That was Niall Keegan. And I mean, he introduced me to so many players like Paddy Carty and a big range of musicians from all over the country and further afield as well, Jean-Michel Villion from Brittany. And but you know, I've got there's a flute player I just listened to so much. I have an album of his. It's Beage, Beej, and it's a Michel Bonamy. He lived in the area here for many years. I think he's back living here, and just think he's a beautiful flute player.
Yeah, no, I must agree on everybody you mentioned. Niall Keegan and Michel. Michel is very much part of the Doolin scene. He was here in the 80s for many years, and then we didn't see him for a while and came back a few years ago. Very, very talented and
enchanted by his choice of tunes on that album and his flute playing. He can play any genre. He can play with anyone, rock and roll, jazz. It seems he's just so musical.
Yeah, but that's like yourself.
Oh, thank you, Joe.
Oh, you're welcome, but that's the truth, you know. I can't imagine myself going on and play in a jazz session or whatever.
No, me neither, not jazz.
But I'm not even sure how it fit in Los Paddies or any of those bands.
You'd fit in great.
Some of the tunes you have recorded on your albums, you recorded Tico Tico, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
That tune, yeah.
Yeah, that was difficult.
And was it like a challenge? You just went for that tune because you wanted to?
Well, I love that tune and I've never tired of it. Dermot Byrne playing it, and I just really wanted to put that down. And actually, it wasn't too difficult. Third part goes into E flat major, but apart from that, it's kind of swinging.
Well, I'm sure you put in the work for it. I'd say we'll talk about your album maybe a little later. Do you want to play another set of tunes?
Yeah.
And then maybe we chat about your CD.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
What would you like to play?
So I'm going to play 2 reels. The big reel of Ballynacally into the Watchmaker.
Love that tune.
You know, it's originally a Scottish strathspey, I can't remember the name of it, but
Yeah, that makes sense.
and I remember where I learned it from. I'm sure I learned it from Quentin Cooper.
Okay, yeah, the
Or
great.
maybe early fiddle case stuff, maybe.
When you talk about Quentin, you never know what instruments. If you start launching the list, you're like mandolin, guitar, banjo, fiddle.
Yeah.
No, it's a great tune. So both the tunes are on your last album, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So you recorded 2 albums. I remember. I was looking for it. I couldn't find it before you came. The first one was the Gallowglass.
Yeah.
A great jig.
Oh yeah.
And then that was, how long ago was that?
That was 2014, so that's 6 years ago. Yeah.
7, nearly.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Time flies. And then end of 2020 was it? Or?
At the end of 2019, start of 2020.
Like we've lost either 18 months with those lockdowns that are just gone.
Yes.
But we said we were not going to talk about COVID or lockdowns too much.
Yeah, I was actually lucky to be able to launch. I got one small soft launch-in of 4/4 at the Michael Russell Festival just before lockdown.
And while I think about it, if people are looking up for your album, they can go on your website.
Yeah, KirstenAllstaff.com, yeah.
And 4/4 is actually the number 4 /
Yes, there's lots of reels on. I love the 4/4. I love electronic music 4/4. There's just something in the... And I just thought I'd name my album 4/4.
I think it's a good name for a CD. So the 2 tunes, the Big Rail of Ballynacally and the Watchmaker, they're on it. But I don't think you played them together on the CD, do you?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
So that's like the extra track we just got there. Do you want to tell us about the CD? Because you have a good few guests and some great musicians on it with you.
Yeah. So I recorded it in Scotland. Jean Demy, he's been a friend of mine since my days at University of Limerick. He's based over there, as is David Lombardi, another great musician. He's actually Italian. And so I played a lot with them. And of course, John Joe Kelly. On Bowron, yeah. I played with him in Gallowglass. He just brings such lift. I wish I could have done more live with John Joe, because playing live with John Joe is just... it's a great experience.
Yeah, just get all the energy. And,
yeah. So.
I remember you did a CD launch in O'Connor's, wasn't it?
That's
O'Connor's pub down here, and they were both here. No, Jean wasn't.
That was the one before the lockdowns happened. That was Killian O'Dallagh was playing with me, and Neil Fitzgibbon.
Nice. And when you went to the process of picking tunes from an album, how did that work for you?
I picked tunes I'm very sentimentally attached to, as opposed to ones that possibly would resonate better with an audience, or that would possibly sit much better on the flute.
Okay, that's great reasons to pick tunes. I mean,
there's tunes on the CD that remind me of my days in Glasgow 25 years ago. They're all most of them are tunes I'm very sentimentally attached to. Some of them very challenging to play, others not. But there has to be some passion. I mean, that's where the passion is. That's what you're doing it. Passion, is what motivates.
But I think when you decide which tunes to learn, whether they are from for a CD or not, you learn them because you like them. Well, I assume. Just the sound, the melody of a tune.
Yeah.
But then all it takes is to have heard the tunes in one place at one time, or to have played it with someone at some stage, and that's why we keep playing those tunes ultimately.
Yes. Yeah, it's like music's a time machine. You know, you hear a tune and you can just be brought back to...
Yeah, I have that, with... it's a bit like the sense of smell.
Yes.
Do you have that as well?
For sure, yeah.
And it's funny, it's not always the tune, because it depends who plays it and how it's played. But just sometimes you hear it and you're like, oh my God, I remember that session there with such and such.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, after you just launched your album
Mm-hmm.
and then lockdown happened, obviously, I'm sure you were looking forward to more launches. Because was that one in O'Connor's the only one that you got to do?
Yes, I had a few more arranged, but they were later on in March, so they were all pulled. I could have done something more online, and I perhaps will. But
it just required a lot of adjustment. I don't think at the start of the whole thing anybody thought it would last for so long.
Yeah. It'll just be great when we're all out playing tunes again. I mean, the whole nature of the tradition is very organic, and it relies on, I think, us getting together and digging out these old tunes and reminding each other of them on a weekly or more basis.
It'll be almost like discovering new tunes again.
Yeah.
Which is kind of exciting in a way, but you found it very difficult, like to just motivate yourself and play at home, or how did you?
I really enjoyed the break.
Yeah.
I felt like I needed it. And
so in general or specifically with music?
Specifically with playing music.
Was that maybe the pressure building up with the CD?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Makes sense. Because, well, I know there was music in your house throughout because you mentioned it earlier, like your son plays the concertina.
Yes. Well, I haven't said, playing music on the flute, I've got a new joy in my life, and that's playing guitar. And
cool.
I have no ambitions to be anything more than a learner guitar player. And, I just play a few chords and standard along with Matthew, and I also sing a good few songs, not particularly trad ones, and I just love it.
But I don't think you need any other purpose than just enjoying it.
That's it. Just sitting on the couch, singing Chris Christopherson or whatever.
And did you start before lockdown, or was that actually your lockdown?
I played guitar since I was, my dad showed me all the chords when I was just 11 or 12, and I've always tinkered away, but I've never progressed. I've never taken it seriously, and I still don't take it seriously.
But you got to do a little bit more of that non-serious music.
Yeah.
But now the break is too long.
Yes.
When we mentioned going back to sessions and learning all the new tunes, are there specific sessions or things you want to do once we can just do whatever we want?
I've enjoyed 20 years of playing sessions and stuff, and my focus, and I felt it over COVID, has really changed from me and my upkeep of my own music to my son, who's really enjoying playing. He's got the bug. I mean, I have to ask him to stop playing a couple of times a day. It just drives me mad. But that's my new focus, really.
And would you try and teach him a tune every now and then, or for now you kind of let him do his own thing? Because I suppose he's going to a concertina teacher.
Yeah, he's now he's so hungry for it, and his concertina teacher stopped in May, and so I know the CDs he likes to listen to. His favourites, Cormac Begley and Caroline Keane, are his two favourites. And what I'll do is I'll find
great. He's got great taste.
Yeah, I write out a set, and he'll kind of glance at it a bit and say, "Look, you can just follow these notes. That's your favourite set." And then he'll come around and I'll hear him, and it might take a week or two. Then he's playing the set and delighted with himself. So.
It's brilliant. And do you actually play together a little bit once he's learned the tunes?
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I have that as well. I must say with my eldest, she's a bit younger than your son, but there is something, because you get that feeling of you're passing it on.
Yeah.
And as the nature of traditional music, it's alive and it carries through the generations. But when it happens within your own house, for me anyway, it feels more not natural, but it's wow, I'm doing something useful.
Well, you're giving them a great gift, because that there's no time spent playing music, anything tunes. Is time such well spent. It's almost like you're checking out. You're in the present moment, and they could spend hours playing, and that's such a beautiful gift. And if they can keep that going through their teens, that's a little escape place for them to go and play their music. And I mean, it's a passport to meeting people.
I think you actually mentioned earlier, and you might have used the word, was it transcendent, you said, or spiritual kind of a...
Oh yeah, when you're playing loads of reels, you're in
you're in the zone, and
exactly.
But that's true, and I think you said it, like he has got the hunger for it, and probably when he's playing, he's in that zone, and it's a great gift, like you said.
Yeah, it's time from it. I mean, I'd rather him playing music for sure than being on Netflix or video games. It's so much more wholesome.
Yeah, no, you can really be proud of passing this on.
Yeah.
With your family, and sure, watching kids learn and play, it makes me jealous. I mean, they learn so fast. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I know.
It takes them 10 minutes. Like, even, do you know what? If they've listened to a tune, sometimes you give them the notes. They play nearly straight away from reading from the notes. And then it takes them very little time to just have the tune off by heart.
Same as language, because they're just soaking it in. They're not actively learning. They're not consciously setting out to learn a tune. They're just washing over them and soaking into them, just like a language would.
Yeah, because I find for myself, I don't know how you are about learning tunes, but if I don't know the tunes in my head before I learn it, that's when it can take me a long time, and I usually don't do it. Like, being honest, I'll learn the tunes that I've in my head because I've heard them several times. It's too much effort. I'm lazy. But for them, you can give them something they've never heard, and
I know.
No hassle. What's your learning process like?
As in, like, learning tunes?
Yeah.
Like, Charles, I honestly haven't learnt tunes for so long. I don't think, even the ones on my CD, I played them all for years before. Again, if I hear a tune a few times, it has to be in my head, and then it's no bother. Often if there's a difficult tune and I was learning it for example, I'm playing a lot with a classical player at the moment, and he's throwing the stuff, some of his compositions, he's a great classical guitar player, and sometimes I'm like, whoa, how am I going to learn this? So I actually sit down with a pen and paper, and I'll write down the notes one by one. Some of them are very fast passages, and then that process of writing for me, it was the same as when I was doing exams. It's very important in my learning process, and I think it always was. Going back when I was learning tunes, I'd always listen to I want to learn that one, and I just scribble down the notes.
It's
first.
very interesting, because I'm the same. And the reason when the Tunes From Doolin project started 10 years ago, I was teaching myself how to build the website, but I was also learning my first few tunes. I had only been playing for a couple of years, and I'd learned the tunes I can't read music, so I listen to the tune, have the recording playing, maybe slow it down on the computer and learn it along. But then the crucial step for me was actually to write it down after.
Yes.
And not read another version that you can find on the internet, because there are loads of versions. I had to write the simple structure of the tune, and once I had this done, it was kind of stuck in my head. And
for sure, it's not about going and finding the notes and learning it, because that's, if you just read the notes that somebody else has written down, it's not really going to get into your head. It's much better to learn by ear and write down yourself.
And it's funny, because we might hear different things in a tune. And I think that's why I had to do this writing process, which I've kept doing for 10 years after.
Yeah.
It's handy sometimes be able to find versions that are good online, and that's what I'm hoping to do, on the website.
Yeah.
If somebody's trying to find a version that maybe my version suits them.
Yeah.
But like you said, would highly encourage people to write down
the
tune for themselves.
Or first of all, I highly encourage people to listen a good few times and not to go trying to learn a tune until it's really embedded in their head, until you can lilt it or sing along.
Yeah.
And then if you need to do something written that's grand, you might not need to.
I think I was told this when I started from scratch with Irish music. Before learning a tune, you need to know the tune in your head. And I mean, I was told, go to the session, sit down and don't play and just listen, soak it in. And I mean, you have so much experience in teaching, both university, one-to-one, online as well. I think for people listening to this who are in learning loads of tunes, maybe starting off beginner, intermediate, that's probably one of the best advice you can give people, isn't it?
Listen.
Listen. Plus it's fun, because I mean, listening to
you've got to love it.
Yeah,
you got to love it. And if you've got the passion there for listening, then you'll have the passion for learning, Yeah,
I think that's a great way to finish this episode, on these great advice for people learning tunes. Kirsten, it was great to have you here today. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Charles. It was a pleasure.
And can't wait to be able to go out and
have a tune.
Actually, when I say go out, I'm laughing because we can play outside at the moment, but I can't wait to go in and play tunes.
Thank you, Charles.
Thanks, Kirsten. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thanks again so much to Kirsten Allstaff for coming on the Tunes From Doolin podcast. If you'd like to keep up with Kirsten and her music and order her albums, make sure to visit her website, kirstenallstaff.com. You can also check out her work with the Online Academy of Irish Music at oaim.ie, where they have a huge selection of online courses on many different instruments. All the links are in the show notes. Thank you again so much for listening to the Tunes From Doolin podcast, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss new episodes. It would be very helpful if you could tell your friends about the show too, share it on social media, and feel free to visit the Patreon page if you would like to support. If you would like to know more about the Tunes From Doolin project, you can check out the website and YouTube channel. You can also email me at tunesfromdoolin@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. Thanks again, and see you at the next episode.